Good morning. In this weekend of big Alberta skies and amazing colors and harvest moons, welcome. Welcome to a time to simply be. Welcome to a time to soak in the wonder of community and the meaning that it has to each of us. Welcome to each of us that enters into mystery and explores the enchantment of this life that we each live. And as we explore enchantment as another habit of the heart this morning, may we enter in to this life and this world knowing that we fall somewhere in between earth and sky and are grateful for it. Let's speak words to center us, to gather us, as we share words that help us to be fully in this place. We come to this time and place to renew our trust in the creativity and sacredness of life. We affirm our intentions to engage life with spiritual depth. To rekindle the flame of our curiosity, hope, and deep wisdom. To reclaim our truth that we are creative beings born to love and be loved. To renew our commitment to work for a just and compassionate world. Let's speak these words together. In the ever-emerging spirit in which we live, we come as we are, brave and afraid, grieving and celebrating, anxious and trusting, great the everyday and the ordinary pieces of our lives give us a million opportunities to learn. The ordinary, the things we see each day, the nature that surrounds us, the objects that fill our lives, they offer us their own wisdom. And we add this wisdom to all that we gather and all that we celebrate. We simply need to open our eyes and ourselves to each of them. A candle and a flame are but two of those everyday objects that offer us their wisdom. May they speak that wisdom to us. May we listen. May we see. May we open ourselves to our time together today. Now is our time for all ages. I invite anyone who wants to come to the carpet to come. I brought some things with me today that I'd like to show you all. Oh, some people are coming. Some people are coming. Hi. Come on, you can sit on the carpet. That's perfect. Hello, everyone. So today I brought some things. In fall there are so many beautiful things to see outside. And we get to see leaves of beautiful colors. So I brought a whole bunch to see. I brought some yellow ones. I brought some orange ones. I brought some red ones, which are my favorite. And I brought some green ones with a tiny bit of orange on them. And I brought this that isn't going to turn color, I don't think. This is some pine needles. I felt like I was picking up a lot of leaves, but that's not really that many, is it? There are so many different kinds of leaves and so many different colors on the trees right now. It's amazing. And I love how in the fall, something just amazing happens inside the trees. It's just amazing. All this stuff that makes the leaves green inside those leaves, it's called chlorophyll. it doesn't like the cold so much. So it starts going to a place that's much warmer. It doesn't go, to Florida or anything, but it goes inside the tree trunk because it's warmer in the tree trunk than it is out in the leaves. So all that green chlorophyll, it goes into the tree. And look what's left when the chlorophyll leaves. Orange and yellow and red. So beautiful. And then they, eventually they'll fall on the ground and they'll start to decompose and turn brown and gooey and soily. Or they get swept up and put in bags. Maybe that's what happens too. But there are so many different colors and shapes. But there's things that, even though they're all different, there's some things that are the same about all trees. Don't you think? Like what do all trees have? All trees have some leaves or needles, right? But what are some other things that all trees have? Oh, branches, yeah. Mm-hmm. What's that big part that you can put your arms around at the bottom? The trunk, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you know what grows on the outside of the trunk? There's like what is it? Bark, right. Yeah, the stuff that protects the tree trunk is the bark, yeah. Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, you can use that to start a fire. Mm-hmm. Oh, there's some bark right here, you're right, on the tree trunk I'm sitting on. And then what are the parts underneath that we don't see too much of? The roots, right. All trees have all those things, right? And they need them. They need all those things. And there's a great spiritual lesson. There's a great lesson that I want us all to remember that trees help to teach us. And you're even going to talk about this a little bit in Kid Spirit today if you go to Kid Spirit. Trees teach us that despite all the differences, all these different colors, all these different shapes. Did you see the pointy one like this? I love that one. Despite all the differences, we can always look a little bit harder. If we look harder, we can see things that are the same. Looks different on the outside, but on the inside, there's lots of things that are the same to see. That's true of trees. That's true of plants. That's true of people. We look different on the outside, but we're all very much the same on the inside. Yeah, I know, that's big, huh? So, to help us remember the great things that trees teach us, we're going to sing a song about a tree. And you can each take a leaf if you like. That would be just fine, because it'll remind us that on the outside, things are different. On the inside, if we look harder, we're the same. So, if you'd like a leaf, you can have a leaf. But for now, we're going to stand up, and we're going to sing a song about trees. And we're going to invite everyone to stand up and sing a song about trees.
And we're going to make our body into a tree. So, we're going to be standing like a tree with our roots. That's these things. With our roots dug down. Our branches wide and open. Come down the sun. Come down the rain. Come down the fruit. Let's pick the fruit off the tree. Come down the fruit to the heart that is open to be standing like a tree. Try it one more time and then we'll put some tune to it. Standing like a tree with my roots dug down, my branches wide and open. Come down the sun, come down the rain, come down the fruit to the heart that is open to be standing like a tree.
Would you like to go to Kids Spirit now? You can go to Kids Spirit. You can come to Karen. I invite kids to go to Kids Spirit with their leaders, and there's also an opportunity for junior and senior high youth to go downstairs for Youth Cafe.
And we're going to hear a very old story about trees. One of the creation stories passed down to us in our tradition. I'm reading from the 2nd chapter of Genesis. In the day in which the heavens and earth were made, when no plant of the field was yet in the earth, and no herb of the field had yet sprung up, for it hadn't rained, and there was no one to till the ground. But a stream would rise from the earth and water the face of the ground. Then God formed the Adam, the earth creature, from the dust of the ground, and breathed into the nostrils of the earth creature the breath of life. And the Adam, the earth creature, became a living being. And God planted a garden in Eden in the east, and put the earth creature that God had formed. And out of the ground God made to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. The tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. This is a creation myth that's come down to us in the writings of ancient Israel. And from the collection of writings that we know as the wisdom literature of ancient Israel, from the writings of the book of Ecclesiastes, from whom we read last week and read those words that are most familiar to us, for everything there is a time and a season for every matter under heaven. We read sort of the hopeful, heartening words last week. But today we start with the words that open that book, which are of a very different nature. Emptiness of emptiness, says the teacher. Everything is empty, utterly void. What do we gain from all our work, from all our toil under the sun? A generation goes and a generation comes, but earth remains forever. The sun rises and the sun goes down and hurries to the place where it rises. The wind blows to the south and goes around to the north. Round and round goes the wind, and on its circuits the wind returns. All streams run to the sea, but the sea is never full. To the place where the streams flow, there they continue to flow. All things are wearisome, more than one can say. The eye is never satisfied with seeing, or the ear filled with hearing. What has been is what will be. And what has been done is what will be done. There is not one new thing under the sun. This is an ancient voice of despair in a quest to find meaning for life. And from the writings of Brian Swim, in his book, The Universe is a Green Dragon. Brian Swim is a mathematician and cosmologist, one who is deeply enchanted with the universe story. These are his words. When you walk into a forest, learn to tremble with the magnitude of what you are about, and you will never walk out. There will no longer be the self that approached the forest, for you will be new, and you will bear the presence of the forest within you. Forests are alive with music on all sorts of hidden levels. And when you hear the music, you will know that the forest has permeated every cell of your body. The natural, human, and divine worlds flow together into our feelings. You need no teacher, for the universe is your teacher. The forests are your teachers. You will know when you have failed to learn, for failure is punished with boredom. If you develop even the least flicker of sensitivity, the universe will come alive within you. To live as a mature human being is to journey home, and our home is enchantment. This is the story of a fellow pilgrim. Open our hearts. Everything is empty, empty of meaning, and life is without purpose. That's essentially the verdict of this ancient writer of Ecclesiastes on the human experience. It is how he sees life, at least at some moment in time. For whatever reason, he's come to a time and place in life where he is unable to find meaning in work or in pleasure. Unable to see purpose in the rhythm of the days and the seasons and the generations. The wonder that rivers and streams run to the sea and the sea is never full, that wonder is lost on him. Everything is going somewhere, which all leads to nowhere, he says. There's something important about these words finding their way into the collection of sacred texts for Jews and Christians. If the test for sacredness was whether words inspire or not, they would surely fail. But if the test for sacredness is whether it speaks truthfully of life's experience, then clearly they have a place in this collection of writings from which our tradition seeks wisdom. And though these words may not inspire us, they speak the honest fear that most of us experience at certain times in our lives. We grow weary of injustice. We despair of the inhumanity we inflict on one another and the pain we bring to the earth and to its creatures. And we become immune to wonder. And we struggle to make peace with the fact that life and death have some very necessary arrangement between them. And we're grieved by loss and by change. So when we read these words, we hear the voice of one who may be in the midst of loss, needing time and support and memory to bring a measure of healing and hope to his heartbreak. Or perhaps he's struggling with depression and needs support and therapy and good medical care to help live in the midst of that darkness that isolates him. Or maybe he is spiritually bereft because there isn't a tree in sight and he needs some time in the forest to become re-enchanted. When these are our words, when this is our verdict on life, it might be time to place ourselves in the presence of the great spiritual teachers that have earth in their roots and the sky in their reach. It might be a time when we're in need of the wisdom of the trees. Once again this summer, Don and I had the opportunity to spend a bit of time in old-growth forest. We were in the California redwoods, exploring what has been so well named the Avenue of the Giants. To walk amongst these ancient trees is to step into one of the oldest and most magnificent cathedrals in the world. If you've been in the forest, you notice how we begin to whisper, we speak more quietly, just as we do in the great cathedrals and temples of the world. You can't even begin to capture the wonder on the camera. There's something about being in the presence of these spiritual beings that have stood in their place, some of them for as much as 2,200 years, reaching up to 350 feet in height as they stretch towards light. They are resilient survivors with very few enemies. Even fire is seldom fatal for a redwood. Possessed of amazingly shallow roots, but growing laterally, sometimes more than 100 feet. They intertwine and graft onto one another, helping to hold each other up. And even the death of a tree is the birth of a log that becomes a nursery for as many as 4,000 species. A diversity of species that's essential to the health of old-growth forest. Standing there in deep stillness, straining to see where the crown of the tree even finds light, it seems obvious to me why the forest in the world of our stories is invariably an enchanted place. There's so much mystery in this place, where the health of each being affects the whole, where we're taken into the quiet and embraced by all that dwarfs us, where reverence sweeps us off our feet to lay down and look up and be speechless, where our senses are on high alert and our ears are seeking those sounds, our eyes are searching for the sounds our ears hear that we can seldom find. In the world of our stories, the forest is often home to the magical and the mysterious. Those experiences, too, of becoming lost and found, often by the most quirky of characters. In our stories, it's the place where our characters meet both good and evil, and are rescued or work their way to live happily ever after. The forest in the world of literature is often a place where our hero or our heroine sets off on a journey that is filled with dangers and fraught with obstacles, and from which that character will emerge with new wisdom and a new courage with which to meet life. In the forest, it's not uncommon to lose ourselves and to find ourselves a different person. It's a spirited place where we're changed, a place we come back from re-enchanted. There was a time when the forest was home to our ancestors, a time when humanity lived in a much more intimate relationship with the forest. It was more immediate. When the spirituality of this place was more accessible to us. Now we have to go into the woods, or we have to bring the forest into our urban lives. We plant our children's first grade trees in our front yard. We set aside parkland in our cities. We seek to be in relationship with the trees that have so much to teach us. The Celts, who, like so many indigenous people, lived in a deep relationship with the natural world, found a kind of threefold wisdom in the trees. The leaf wisdom of change, that life is ever and always about releasing and letting go. And the branch wisdom of growth, that life is always about reaching, always about growing toward light. And the root wisdom of endurance by deepening. They can't just pick themselves up and find another place to be. Perhaps those who gave us some of our ancient creation myths intuited this sort of wisdom in the trees. It's interesting to me that the biblical narrative opens and closes in a garden. And in that older creation story that we heard a moment ago, the one that actually comes second in the Genesis collection, the trees are primal. They're the first habitat in which we human ones find ourselves. And in that story, we and the trees are made of the same substance from the soil. And according to that story, the trees were inspiring, enchanting, nourishing, and entrusted with the task in creation of teaching us what was good and what wasn't. After the element of water, the trees are the first living thing that the earth creature gets to be in relationship with. And according to this myth, it was from the trees that humanity would learn the particular wisdom of discerning good and evil. From the trees would come knowledge, and from the trees would come the wisdom of knowing the nature of life, for in our midst would be the symbol, the tree of life. We're in this paradoxical season of autumn in which the trees speak their wisdom and beauty and brilliance. Everywhere we look, we see the leaf wisdom of change. We witness the green giving way to yellow and red, to gold and orange, before that great work of letting go, to become the humus from which life will come in the spring. If we look at their branches closely, we see the growth of this season. And we see how the trunks and the branches have to weave their way around the obstacles, searching for the great energy of light. And we see in the tree its endurance through wind and drought, of roots reaching deeper with no choice but to deepen. And when the time comes for the tree to fall in its place, to be part of the continuance of life as nurse log for generations. It's easy to become disenchanted. It's easy to find ourselves in the place where the voice of Ecclesiastes is our voice. There's so much to discourage and dishearten us. And there are so many losses in life that strip us and erode our sense of wonder. And there's a tree somewhere, or a forest nearby, inviting us to become re-enchanted. But it takes attention and intention for us to not lose heart. Enchantment is a habit for the heart to cultivate. In the midst of it all, there is a spiritual teacher somewhere near us, waiting to teach our heart to sing again. Enchanté, to be re-enchanted. This is our time to listen. This is our time to look. This is our time to open to what is singing us back to life, singing us back to wonder, to wisdom, to that which seeks to re-enchant us. We pause to name our hopes and fears, our joys and sorrows, our enchantment and our disenchantment. We pause to pray. We gather in this circle in reverence for the wonder of life. We come in the midst of all that is, in the midst of our hopes and fears, in the midst of our enchantment and disenchantment, And we come seeking the wisdom that is swinging in stars and galaxies, the wisdom that's singing its ancient song in mountains and meadows, the wisdom that's stretching wide the sky and sprouting its seeds of persistence and resistance, the wisdom that is crying in the fields and the streets and in our hearts. In this season, may we unbury our talents for wonder and gratitude, that we might invest them eagerly in the recurring mysteries of seasons and cycles, of willows that weep and rivers that sing and trees that long to clap their gladness. We call upon the wonders and mysteries of the natural world to re-enchant us. That even in the midst of our sadness, even in the midst of our grief, even in the midst of feeling overwhelmed, we may rise in love with life again. We come seeking the wisdom that is deep within the sparrow's song and the coyote's cry, in the holy call of wild geese and in the longings deep within us. For our humble place alongside all that is, we speak our gratitude. May we know what it is to be creature, earthling, one creature among the many, in the presence of all that longs to survive and thrive, to be and to belong. May we be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. We call upon the counsel of all beings with which we share this magnificent planet to re-enchant us. We remember this day those in whom wisdom cries as grief, those who are called upon to adjust to life-altering changes, those who live in fear, those journeying with disease and death, those in the struggle of addiction or mental illness, those facing the horror of war, and all who are oppressed by inequity and injustice. Where wisdom is silenced, wounded, or endangered, may we hear wisdom's cry and become the face of love and protection. As children of wisdom, in all the joys and sorrows of life, all around us, deep within us, and in the long story of the universe, there is much to re-enchant us. There is enchantment in our light and in our darkness. We go from this circle with one another, listening to the wisdom of all our spiritual teachers. We go into the sacredness that is everywhere. We go singing a piece of music that Chris wrote on sabbatical, a piece of music that we'll take a moment to learn the melody and then to sing it as our way of taking our leave from this circle with one another. We'll listen for the melody.